15 assets that will make you rich in the next 10 years with clear analysis. You can't talk about becoming wealthy over the next 10 years without first correcting a deep misunderstanding about what an asset really is, because most people grow up believing assets are things you buy after you already have money, things like houses, stocks, or businesses. But that belief quietly delays progress because it creates the illusion that wealth building starts later, when in reality the most powerful assets are built long before the money comes, and they begin as habits, skills, ways of thinking, and forms of control that slowly compound into something valuable over time. Hi, I'm Eugene, and I dedicate most of my thinking to finding the best ways to secure financial freedom. And if this is what you desire, do well to like and subscribe to the channel so others can learn these hidden secrets too. The first and foundational asset is skill ownership. Not just having a skill, but truly owning one that solves a real problem in the world. Because when you own a valuable skill, you are no longer easily replaceable. You become someone who can create value on demand, and value is what the market pays for. So instead of chasing opportunities, opportunities begin to respond to you. And over time, that skill becomes a source of income, leverage, and independence that you can build on in multiple directions. Closely connected to this is your ability to control your attention, which has quietly become one of the rarest and most valuable assets in a world filled with constant distraction. Because if you cannot focus deeply on something meaningful for an extended period, you will struggle to build anything of substance. And while others are scattered across endless noise, the person who can concentrate fully gains an unfair advantage, learning faster, executing better, and progressing further simply because they can stay present with what matters. Time control follows naturally because it's not about having more hours in a day, but about having authority over how those hours are used. And most people underestimate how much of their time is spent reacting instead of deciding, responding instead of directing. And when you begin to take ownership of your time, even in small ways, you start to create space for meaningful work, for building instead of just maintaining, and that shift alone can change the trajectory of your life. Reputation then becomes an asset that operates quietly in the background, shaping how people perceive you and whether they trust you. Because trust is a form of currency that opens doors long before money does. And when you consistently show up with integrity, reliability, and value, people begin to associate your name with something positive, which leads to opportunities, collaborations, and access that you don't have to chase because your reputation is already working for you. Your network builds on this, not in the sense of collecting contacts, but in forming genuine relationships with people who are also building, growing, and thinking beyond the average. Because the environment you place yourself in influences your standards, your thinking, and your expectations. And when you surround yourself with individuals who are moving forward, their momentum begins to influence yours, shortening your learning curve and expanding your perspective. Knowledge that compounds becomes another critical asset, but not just random information collected from different sources, rather deep applied understanding that you revisit, refine, and build upon over time. Because this type of knowledge transforms into judgment, the ability to make better decisions based on experience and insight. And in a world where many people act without thinking deeply, strong judgment becomes a powerful advantage. Discipline is the force that holds all these assets together, because without it, consistency breaks, and without consistency, nothing compounds. And discipline is not about intensity or motivation. It is about showing up repeatedly even when it feels ordinary, even when results are not visible, because it is that steady, controlled effort that turns small actions into significant outcomes over time. Income streams represent a shift in how you view earning money, moving away from reliance on a single source of income toward building multiple channels that provide financial stability and flexibility. because depending on one source leaves you vulnerable, while gradually creating additional streams gives you layers of security and opens up more possibilities for growth. Equity, or ownership in something that grows, is where wealth begins to scale beyond your direct effort. Because when you own a portion of a business, a project, or idea, you are no longer limited by the hours you can work. Instead, you benefit from the overall growth of that asset. And over time, this creates exponential returns that are not tied to your daily input. Digital presence has become increasingly important as the world continues to move online, not as a tool for validation, but as a platform for visibility and leverage, because your presence allows you to share your value, connect with others, and create opportunities that would not exist otherwise. And when used intentionally, it becomes an extension of your identity and your work. Financial intelligence is what allows you to manage and grow whatever money you earn, because without understanding how money works, it becomes easy to lose it as quickly as you gain it. And developing this intelligence means learning how to allocate resources, how to invest, how to avoid unnecessary risk, and how to make decisions that support long-term growth instead of short-term gratification. Health, both physical and mental, is often overlooked but remains one of the most essential assets, because energy is the foundation of productivity, focus, and resilience, and without it, even the best plans and opportunities become difficult to execute. So maintaining your health is not separate from wealth building, it is a core part of it. Decision-making ability ties everything together because your life is ultimately shaped by the choices you make, and improving your ability to make clear, timely, and effective decisions allows you to navigate opportunities and challenges more efficiently, reducing hesitation and increasing momentum. Patience is what allows all these assets to grow, because most meaningful results take time, and in a world that prioritizes speed and instant gratification, the ability to stay committed over the long term becomes a rare advantage, enabling you to benefit from compounding while others give up too early. Self-identity sits at the center of everything, because how you see yourself influences how you act. And if you begin to see yourself as someone who builds, someone who invests, someone who takes control, your actions start to align with that identity naturally, reinforcing the behaviors that lead to growth. These assets are not isolated. They are interconnected, each one strengthening the others, creating a system where progress in one area supports progress in another. And over time, this interconnected growth leads to a level of control and freedom that cannot be achieved by focusing on a single element alone. The process of building these assets requires intentional sacrifice, not in an extreme sense, but in the daily choices you make to prioritize long-term value over short-term comfort, to invest time and energy into things that may not provide immediate rewards, but will compound over time into something meaningful. As you continue to build, there is a shift that occurs, where your focus moves away from chasing quick results and toward maintaining steady progress. And this shift changes how you experience growth, making it less about sudden breakthroughs and more about consistent improvement. Most people struggle to reach this stage because they are pulled back by comfort and distraction, returning to familiar patterns that feel easier in the moment but limit their long-term potential. And this cycle repeats unless a conscious decision is made to break it. The next 10 years will pass regardless of what you do, and during that time, these assets will either grow within your life or remain undeveloped. And the difference between those outcomes lies in the choices you make consistently, not occasionally. So the real question is not whether these assets work, but whether you are willing to build them, whether you are willing to take control of your direction, your time, and your identity. Because in the end, your future will reflect not what you intended to do, but what you actually committed to becoming.